Hello, my name is Cassandra, and I'm so excited to introduce you to Personal Finance Lab. In this video, you'll discover the interactive games, lessons, and activities that we've designed to engage students to learn financial literacy. But first, what is Personal Finance Lab? It's an engaging and customizable financial education platform used in personal finance and business classes. By providing interactive learning experiences, your students can practice life skills, like managing a monthly budget, building a diversified portfolio, and how to make smart financial decisions. Our financial simulations are for K-12 students, so they can make mistakes and learn from them before using real money, allowing them to make connections between what they learn in class and real life. Let's get started. When you log in to Personal Finance Lab, you'll be able to see the same dashboard as students. So in the top corner, you've got all of your assignments. If you have multiple assignments, they will appear here in a drop-down menu. Clicking these buttons will open the assignments, and students will be able to look through everything that is assigned to them, seeing their grades and how well they're doing. Beside, they have the widget for the stock game. They can see what equities they're currently holding, the rank in their class, and if they click this button, they'll view their portfolio. And if they have different types of equities, they can toggle between them depending on what you have enabled in your class. Over here is their budget game settings and how they're doing so far. Clicking this button will take them to the budget game, where they can continue to play wherever they left off. Further down the page, if you have any announcements that you posted for your class, it'll appear here. Over here is where you can have an overview of your badges, your most recent badge, and the one that you've currently set for yourself. And then these widgets just change every day with word of the day, different news. You can set your own watch list of stocks that you want to keep track of, your recent transactions and orders. When you have an admin account, you have a couple of other options from the top menu. So from here, I'll take you to your dashboard. You can see different areas of your profile, like changing your password from here, joining other sessions from here, and your certificates and achievements is where you can see your badges. If you have the form enabled, this is where students can leave messages for each other and messages from here. So this is where you can post a message to everyone in your class. Coming under the stock game drop-down menu, you'll have all of the different buttons to access your portfolio, seeing where your rankings are in your class. And if you have the teams enabled, you'll see your team rankings and your portfolio. From here, you'll see all of the different pages of the different security types. So this is where you can trade stocks, mutual funds, bonds, and so on. And from here, you'll have different tutorial videos that'll walk you through the different areas of the platform. We have a very comprehensive series of research tools. The best place to get started is the symbol lookup, so that you can know what the ticker symbol is for the company you're interested in investing in. We have some videos here that can show you about how to actually use the research tools, and different links here to take you to different aspects of the quoting simulation. If you don't know where to get started, we also have a great page for trading ideas. This just randomly chooses different stocks that are popular across all of our different sites. Under the budget game drop-down, you can go directly to playing the budget game, see the rankings, you can see all of your statements, and then all of the tutorial videos specific for the budget game. Under learning is where you and your students can see all of the active assignments that you have in your class, the assignments that have recently expired, and a series of other lessons that they can access from our blog. Exclusive to your account as a teacher, you'll have the administration and reports. Under administration, this is where you can create a new challenge, edit your budget game, edit the stock game, post a message to your class. This is where you can see, edit, and view your assignments. And here we have a couple other great features, some different guides and tutorials. This is where you can see all of your student accounts in your classes, where you can manage your teams. So this is useful for the stock game to group your students into teams. And if you have purchased the widgets, this is where you can select which ones will appear on your screens. Lastly, under reports, you have the custom reports at the end here. So if you don't find what you're looking for in any of the others, you can make your own reports. Here, are the reports for your assignments. You can see how your students are progressing through what you've assigned them. All these reports are related to the stock game. So the ranking report, activity report, you can see the last time your students logged in, and a couple other reports that kind of drill a bit more deeply into what your students are doing on the platform. These two reports will show you more about what your students are doing in the budget game. And these are all really great admin reports. You can see an overview of your class, how many students have registered, and this is also where you can see your registration link. So if you want to set up a new class, you just go to administration, create a challenge. This will be the first screen that you see if you've never set up a class before. So you have to have a class set up to be able to see the rest of the platform. Here, the challenge name, this is what your students will see when they actually click on the registration link to join your class. And the description is just an area that you can use to add a bit more information in case you have multiple classes and you just want to make sure that your students are registering to the right one. Here you just put the approximate total amount of students in your class. Again, if you're working in teams, you can put the total amount in your class, even if your students will eventually be sharing an account. If you want your contest to be private, that basically means that in order to register, your students will have to put in a password. If not, you can just share a registration link and your students can click it and put in their information to join the class. The dates here are when students can register to your class, and you can of course change this at any time if you want to make it shorter or longer. You can set the time zone, enable or disable the forum. If you add badges, this is where they can see their achievements as they complete lessons and activities on the platform. And if you enable certificates, what this will mean is that when students have completed all of the lessons applicable to each certification, they're eligible for a completion certificate. Once you're done putting in all of your settings, you just click next. If you've purchased the budget game, you will have this screen enabled. If for whatever reason you don't want to have the budget game on a particular class, you can just toggle that off and continue to the next set of settings. By turning this on, you'll see all the different parameters that you're able to change. So these dates up here are the actual real world dates during which students can actually play the game. Whereas the total months played, this is the actual game months. So it takes about 20 minutes to complete 1 month in the game. If you have 18 here, that would mean that they get to play a year and a half between these 2 months. You can of course make this as long or as short as you want. Speed limit, this is really if you want to make sure your students don't go too quickly through the game. So you can actually set how many gameplay months they can complete per week. If you leave it 0, they can basically complete the entire game in one sitting if they choose to. There are 2 different modes. So you can either have your students start as a student with a part-time job or as a full-time worker. If you pick this option, that'll basically mean they will spend this amount of time as a part-time student, they graduate and they spend this amount of time as a full-time worker. This section of settings here will apply to everyone in the class. So they'll start with this amount of money in their checking account and this amount of money in their savings account. We highly recommend you leave this at 0 because the whole goal of the budget game is to teach students to reach their savings goals and build an emergency savings fund. This amount here is how much money they'll make per hour while they're in the part-time mode, whereas this is the amount for the full-time mode. Again, you can change these at any time. Down here, you have the tax rate, so change this for your state or province. And here, if you leave these as they are, they're default settings for the basic expenses. This row here is for part-time. This row here is for full-time. A great class activity you could do is have your students actually research how much it costs, let's say, to pay for gas in your area. And so you can update this information based on what they find. And if you don't want to have any of these features present, for example, if you don't want your students to be paying for student loans in the full-time mode or health insurance, you can just change this to 0. Coming down here, the life event emphasis section, this is where you can actually specify what cards will pop up in the game while your students are playing. If you leave it blank, there'll just be a random assortment from all of these types of cards. If you have made any changes to the default settings, this area is where you'll see how easy or difficult it is for your students to achieve their savings goals. Whenever you're done, you can just click on next. Again, if you don't want to have the stocking turn on in your class, you can just toggle that off. We have many different currencies available. Of course, the most popular is the US dollar, but you can choose from any of the options in the drop-down menu. For the trading dates, this is the time during which students can actually actively trade in their account. On this day is when their portfolios will freeze. If you do want to change this date after the date has passed, you will need to contact a member of our support team or your account manager because basically the account will be frozen. The starting cash, you have many different options. You can leave it at the default 100,000. You can go crazy and put it up to 100 million, or you can put it as low as $1. The goal of having these options is, let's say, for example, you want your students to practice investing like real world investors would. You can have the weekly deposit be distributed in their account, and they slowly build up their portfolio instead. So it's really open to you to customize as you see fit. Same as with the interest earned on cash, you can put this even into negative integers to really encourage them to invest their money or they'll start losing it. They can trade on margin, and you can specify the interest they'll pay on the loan. You can either allow or turn off day trading or short selling. These prices here will dictate the minimum price when buying or shorting, which basically just limits their ability to invest in penny stocks. So the higher you put this, the more difficult it is to invest in more volatile securities. This option here, we do recommend leaving off because basically if you turn this on, that'll mean that students can actually see what each other's invested in, which takes away a little bit of the spirit of having each student kind of figure out for themselves what they should invest in. Some teachers choose not to appear in the rankings. However, we have seen that teachers that do allow their portfolio to appear in the rankings actually see a lot more engagement with their students. These last three options here are just different performance metrics that you can use in more advanced investing classes. The second page of the trading settings are where you can specify the total amount of trades that your students can place throughout the entire time that they're playing the stock game. And this includes both buy and sell orders. You can limit how many trades they can place a day and if they need to make trade notes. This is a great feature if you want them to be tracking what choices they make while they're playing the stock game. This will make them pause for a moment and actually justify what they're doing. If you turn on the advanced rules, you'll be able to see the position limit and diversification settings. So you can set these per type of security. You can choose the options you want to have here, the amount of commission per trade. And if you want to limit this to, let's say, 20%, you can bring this number down to really encourage diversification. In the exchanges section, you could select all, and it would select all of our international markets, or you can just cherry pick between the ones that you like, or just leave on the US stock exchange. Down here under customize exchanges, this area is if you want to actually specify either a list of stocks that your students can trade in. So this is great if you want to have a very limited list, for example, companies from a specific industry or market, or maybe even an area. So what you do is you actually put the name of the exchange you want here, and then list all of the companies by their ticker symbol separated by a comma. The opposite is true with blacklisted stocks. So this is really useful if you want to remove specific companies from being able to be traded by your students. Whenever you're done, you just click on next. The last screen is the assignment area. This is where you can set up all of your assignments at once, or you can come back later by just clicking this skip this step button, and your class will be done. So each assignment will need to have a name. You can name them either by week or module or by topic. Specifying the dates will be during the time that your students can actually complete them. And you can also give your students rewards. So if they complete all the lessons in the assignment, they can get an amount of money distributed in either their stock game account or their budget game account. If you've been using the platform for a while, you can actually copy an older assignment and just carry over the exact lessons that you've selected. If you're brand new to the stock market with your class, we do recommend using the beginner lessons. This is a great way to get a little bit of an overview with some of our videos, some of our introductory lessons, and you can select the whole section at once by clicking this button, or deselect it all at once by clicking that one. And if you want to allow your students to be able to take their quizzes more than once, you just check this button here. Going through the rest of our inventory, we have intermediate lessons on the stock game. So this goes into a bit more of the history of stocks. We go more over some of the other investment options, so ETFs, mutual funds, bonds. You can assign some videos and other articles that explain to your students how to build a diversified portfolio, the different kinds of financial statements, different investing strategies, and just more in-depth information so that they can really develop their own strategies for investing their money. And again, every lesson ends with a pop quiz that is self-grading. So if you want to check any of them, you can just open it up here. So this one here is actually a video. So it goes over the research tools that are available on our platform. So if you want to actually make this mandatory for your class, that's how you would do it. If you want to actually look at one of the bog standard lessons, we go over the different investing strategies. And then you can see at the bottom, it ends with a pop quiz. We have a short series of lessons for younger students. So these are just videos on our core stock game videos, so they can get just a little bit of information before getting started. Our personal finance lessons are actually grouped by topic. The whole series is aligned to Jumpstart standards, so you can actually carry through using what we have organized here. So we have an introductory video lesson about the budgeting section. You can cherry pick which ones you want to include or just select the whole section. And this also ends with its own little unit assessment. We have the same for managing credit, for income and taxes, for risk and financial decision making, and as well as employment and income. Under the economic lessons, these are a great extra information that you can include in your class. The business cycle is a very popular lesson, as well as how is money created and inflation and international trade. So if you want to just add a bit more information outside of the personal finance or investing lessons, it's a great way to give your students a bigger view of what's going on in the world. We also have a series of accounting, management, and marketing lessons. They're organized by topic. So if you wanted to actually dive a little more deeply into any of these sections, you can do so here. We have some great lessons here that are useful for all students. For example, classifying products and services and the product life cycle, as well as analyzing consumer behavior. These are really great to kind of get students thinking about their role as consumers and how different marketing strategies actually impact their day-to-day lives. We have a short series of lessons that get students a bit more comfortable with using spreadsheets. So while students are on the platform, there's a lot of opportunities for them to be collecting data from the stock game and the budget game and just how they're using the platform. And so these lessons can actually give them a bit more information about how to use spreadsheets. One of our certifications is actually the Investing 101 course. So this is broken up into 10 chapters. We have a vocabulary quiz as well as an end of chapter quiz, and each topic really goes over how to invest in the stock market, how to choose your first trades, a little bit about fundamental and technical analysis, and just kind of gives a primer to students on all the different aspects of setting up your own portfolio. All of these sections down here are either an assessment that goes over the entire platform. This is where you can actually find the financial literacy pre and post test. So this is a great thing to assign at the very beginning before your students start using the platform, so that you can gauge how much they know about financial literacy topics before they use the platform. And this one is great to assign at the end. And then these sections here are just to allow you to require students to do specific tasks while on the platform. So for example, if you want your students to complete a certain amount of months in the budget game, you can specify that here. Or if you want them to do a certain amount of trades, you can require them to do, for example, buy or sell stocks or ETFs. If you want to create more than one assignment at a time, you can click this button here and you can set multiple up at the same time. So you can do it all at one time before you finish setting up your class. Once you're done, go to the bottom and click Create. You can get your students registered to your class by either sharing this link with them. You can also post it to your Google Classroom, or you can generate student accounts and distribute their usernames and passwords directly. Once your class is set up, your dashboard will look like this. This is where you can have announcements posted to everyone in your class, and you can have quick links to access the different areas of the platform. And you can actually see an overview of your students' portfolio rankings, their budget game rankings, as well as their progress in their assignments. To start playing the budget game, just come over here and click Play Budget Game. The goal of the budget game is for your students to build an emergency savings fund, to have a high quality of life, to build up their credit score, and to have a high net worth. So all of these parameters at the top will update as they start playing. If it's the first time for your students to play, they can click the How to Play button, they can watch any of the videos here, or they can just get started right away. At the very beginning, they're going to be asked to set their fixed expenses. So in the back end, you would have selected the option in the middle, and the computer automatically generates a higher and lower option. Students are able to change their choices after they've made their first selection from clicking any of the buttons down here, but there will be fees to break their contracts. To move through the game, you click the dice. And at the beginning of every month, your students are going to be asked to review their monthly budget. So they'll see their revenue. They can use the calculator here on the side to figure out what their total revenue is going to be for the month. Next, they will see their expected expenses. So if they had anything carried over from the previous month, that would be at the top. They'll see their fixed expenses here that they've just selected, and their variable expenses here. They'll have to put in their unplanned expenses, which once they start playing the game, they'll be able to see an estimate of their previous months here. But for the first time, they just have to put in an estimate. The last and most important screen is where they set their savings goals. So they can see their net income, their total expected expenses, and their either surplus or shortfall. And the parameters here on the side are just going to adjust depending on what they put in here. So we do recommend trying to aim for a 10% of your total expected expenses. So they can adjust this until they're happy with what they have, and they can start playing. As they move through the game, they're going to be seeing their expenses pop up. So you can see the rent one here has been issued, and here I can see my bill from the side. They'll also experience other pop-up choice cards that get them to find a balance between using their debit and credit card. So here, this is my grocery trip. I'm shopping for my weekly groceries, but I buy more than I expect, so this is way over budget. So I put this on my credit card. Students can transfer money between their checking and savings account here, and that's how they can keep track of building their emergency savings fund. Along the way, they'll also encounter other pop-up lessons and mini games. Here's another example of a choice card that gets them thinking about their quality of life. So one too many dishes fell and broke, you need a replacement. Pick up whatever you need at the thrift store, I get a matching set. So I'm gonna splurge and get a matching set this time. At the end of the week, they'll be able to see their income and all the deductions that are removed, and the amount is deposited directly into their account. So when students have a good balance between these 4 cards, they're able to have a high quality of life and make sure that they're moving forward with the right balance. Your students' progress is saved as they go. So if they decide to leave to check out the budget game rankings or to see their financial statements, they can do so here. And also you can see the pop-up lessons show up that integrate core concepts right into the game. So they're able to look at some of the major things without even having to do separate lessons. And each of these ends with a pop-up lesson exam. You can go over to the stock game by hovering here and clicking the exact security type that you want to invest in next. If you don't know where to start, again, you can head over to the investing research area where you can look up a ticker symbol or look at market movers for the top performing companies and ETFs, or click over here for the trading ideas. So if I wanted to learn more about a company like Spotify, but I don't know what their ticker symbol is, I could start typing it in, click on the name. From here, I can see some information about their price history, an overview also of the latest news on their company. On the side, I can actually access their financial statements that were filed with the SEC. I can look at any of the different options here over any of the different periods. And I can even export this information if I wanted to. Heading over to price history, I can go into even more detail and actually really zoom in on what has been going on over the last few weeks. Or look at analyst ratings to see what the professionals are saying about this company. Once I've done all my research, I can go back to actually place a trade in this company, and it will automatically be loaded up here. There's more information available here as well, so students can even do their research from the trading page. They're able to actually do more than just a market order. They can get experience doing other order types like a limit order, trailing stop, or just a stop order. If you've made trade notes mandatory, when you click preview, they'll have to put in a note here to justify why they're making this trade. From their portfolio, they can actually view a bit more information about what they just invested in. They can chart it for 1 day, for 30 days, or 1 year. And they can also see what their other security types are. To view the lessons again, you go back to learning and click on view active assignments. And so in this assignment, we had actually assigned the beginner lessons to the stock game as well as the pre-test. In order to help you plan your classes better, we've put together lesson plans on specific personal finance and investing topics. Each lesson plan includes class activities you can run that include our interactive games, as well as independent activities, a list of suggested lessons from our learning library, the key vocabulary terms to review with your students, and open-ended discussion questions. We also point out which academic standards are aligned to material covered, taking out all the guesswork and allowing you to decide if you want to incorporate all or some of the material in your class. We launched a 9-week and an 18-week course outline to provide a step-by-step sequence to guide you through our curriculum and interactive games. We included suggested class settings to make it easier to pace through the program. Each course outline includes slideshows, teacher grading rubrics, and student packets, so you can choose whether you want to follow the outline as is or adjust them to fit your other class activities. The final report and presentation for the budget game and stock game is a great way to have your students reflect on their experiences while playing each game. We allocate time both in class and as homework to complete all the tasks and lessons. Our library of Google Slides and PowerPoint presentations are designed to accompany the lessons built into PersonalFinanceLab. For example, the Getting Trading Ideas presentation accompanies the lesson of the same name. These are short and sweet presentations, so they can be easily integrated into your class without taking up too much time. Bring your personal finance class to life by including the market awareness screen to your site license. You'll get to project live data from your students' activities in the platform, as well as having access to widgets like the Dow Jones wall, custom watch lists, stock game rankings, budget game rankings, and words of the day for personal finance, accounting, and economics. You can even include custom URLs like your school's lunch menu. Coming in fall 2022, we will launch additional ways to integrate our platform with various learning management systems. Students will be able to sign in directly with their Blackboard, Canvas, Schoology, or other LTI-enabled LMS logins. Another big enhancement is to the budget game. We're going to be adding an apartment feature. This will allow students to fill up the space based on purchases they can make in their apartment, as well as pop-up cards in the game. Students will be able to visit each other's apartments as well from the rankings page. How can you get started? First, if you'd like to test out yourself before purchasing for your class, you should head over to our website at www.personalfinancelab.com and click Free Teacher Test Drive from the top menu. When you register, you'll get to see for yourself how the games and lessons come together to provide a fun and engaging learning experience. Next, if you're ready to add PersonalFinanceLab to your classroom, you can either order directly from our site or request a quote. If you have any questions or would like to speak to a member of our team, please don't hesitate to schedule a discovery call where we can help you design the best way to use our platform at your school or school district. We work with both homeschool and in-class teachers, as well as district-level educators to bring financial literacy to life. So thank you so much for your time today, and we look forward to hearing how we can help you in your students.